Okay, well, I'm very excited to say that my first guest this week on the In Conversation With is somebody who has been threatening to pop onto social media very soon, and it'll go wild. The one and
Yeah.
only Liverpool legend, radio legend, my good pal, Billy Butler. How you doing, Bill?
Thank you, Asa.
Are you well?
Is that it?
That's the
Is
end.
that it?
That was the only question I had.
It's fine. We kept it going anyway. We didn't stumble.
Now, how are you coping with the lockdown, pal? I like your style. So it's been a strange. What's that? Brewdog.
Elvis juice.
Where did you get that? Memphis.
No.
Brilliant, that. So how are you coping, Bill, at the moment with this strange situation we're all in?
It is very strange, isn't it, Asa? It really is. But, I mean, you have to definitely, that old phrase, living one day at a time, has never been more apt.
Yeah. It's
And that's what you've got to do, just live one day at a time. You try and think of different things to do, different places to go, because you can still go out in your car and go for a walk. We're
yeah,
lucky we're by the sea.
yeah, yeah. But it's literally like I heard someone said, put a bottle of beer in each room and go on a pub crawl.
Yeah, yeah.
Almost like
Are you
that.
cracking the gags already then? Do you got a script or something?
I've got them written down here. So, do you know what? I'm very pleased to get to chat to you because we've personally known each other for a long time. It's over 23 years since I first
I
met
know
you.
exactly when I first saw you.
Yeah,
I
you
think I
do.
was signing on just behind you, actually. No, it was at a wedding reception for
Yeah,
a good friend of mine, Mark Stewart,
right. Yeah.
and it was in a big posh place, and the cabaret came on, and it was you.
Wow. Yeah. And
And
you.
you always remember the fact that I came up to you and said to you, wow, and this was long before he died, and everybody was doing his songs. I said to you, what's your name? You said, Asa Murphy, Mr. Butler.
Wow.
And I said, how good it is to hear people doing Bobby Darin songs. Nobody does it.
Yeah.
And then, of course, when he died, everybody started doing him. But you were
Yeah.
the first one I heard doing it, and that was the first time I met you.
Well, what I
I mean,
wanted to
you weren't
say,
doing them well or anything like that, but you were having a go at them, you know what I mean?
and still not. What I wanted to say, Bill, is we want to talk about you, and on behalf of every entertainer in Liverpool, one thing you've always done is championed live entertainment, and you've done so much for so many entertainers, and I speak on behalf of them all, and they'll be watching this. Is a huge thank you for what you've done for the music scene. A lot of us, our careers are down to you. Now, what I wanted to ask you was one of the questions I've got lined up. You were in a band, the
Yeah,
Tuxedos. But you know what
yeah.
I wanted to ask you, Bill? I've got a few other things about the people you met, but I wanted to ask you, how did the radio thing actually start for you? Oh, there we go. Wow. Brilliant. We can see that. Wow, that's fantastic. So there's yourself there
Yeah.
in the middle. Can you remember that? What guitar you had there? That's a nice one, that.
Oh,
Lovely.
that's one of the Mersey beats holding the guitar up.
Right,
That's the
yeah.
Mersey beat of, let me see, June the 28th, 1962.
Incredible.
And I was on the front cover with the Mersey beats because I was singing with them at the time,
Right, yeah. And then
using the word singing very loosely.
So what was the jump to radio, Bill? Because everyone knows you as Billy Butler, the voice of Radio City and Radio Merseyside for over 47 years. What was the
But
jump to
basically, the
radio?
whole thing started, Asa, with that.
Right? Oh, go on. Enlighten us with
That's a
that.
letter from ATV Television.
Yeah.
And it says, Dear Mr. Butler, thank you very much for your inquiry regarding the panel of spinner discs. We're holding an audition at Manchester Studios on Thursday, November the 7th, 1961 at 7 o'clock. It's at the Didsbury Studios. I should tell you that Thank You Lucky Stars is on each Sunday, and we'd like you to come along to the audition. And that's how it
Wow.
all started.
So tell us a bit more then. You went along to the audition, and what was your role?
There was like Jukebox Jury, but there was a panel of three teenagers. I was a teenager at the time,
Right.
you see. I was only 19.
Wow.
And we played the record and we had to give it marks out of 5. It's as simple as that. And there was a guest disc jockey on each week.
Yeah.
And we did this show in Birmingham at the Aston Green Studios. And we used to record it for Sunday and it would go out on the next Saturday. Mm. And I did it. Well, I didn't do it for a long while. I was watching the programme. He sat there, and every time the panel come on, I was saying, I was as good as him. I was as good as him, you know. And eventually got a letter saying, we want you to come on this week. And I went on with a girl named Janice Nichols and a girl from London called Janice and called Jackie. And we did it. I thought we did very well on it. The next week we went on. And then I got a letter on Wednesday saying, we'd like you to come down and do another one. And I did 18 altogether with the same panel. But I never knew till the following Wednesday whether it was on the next week. They never told me. But it was 3 guineas, so it couldn't knock it back, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We did it in Birmingham, so usually the reaction from the audience is when I speak, because they thought Scousers sounded dead funny.
Right,
but Janice is the one who became famous for being from Birmingham, and her catchphrase became, I'll give it 5.
Brilliant. Superb. So your job was to judge the different acts that came on?
No, we just had 3 records played to us.
Right, yeah.
Marks out of 5. Right, I did tell you that before, actually. He said, I mean, if you're not going to listen to my answers, it's pointless going on.
Listen, if you don't shut up, I'll tell him about that terrible jacket you had on the other day. Oh, yeah. I just wanted to say...
master of terrible jackets, that's a terrible insult.
Oh, no. That was worse than anything I've got. I'm only joking. I wanted to say as well that what you've been putting on social media recently has been so well received by people. We had this conversation now, the way things are changing with, radio is changing. Social media is the thing everybody's on now. And with the lockdown, it's become much more of an important part of people's lives. And you loaded up over the last couple of weeks some of the memories from the live television show that you and Wally did together. And people have been watching it in their thousands and thousands, recalling. It was great television, Bill.
Yeah, but I don't know if everybody's ever seen the full half hour. But I mean, we used to go down to the pub I think it was a Wednesday night we recorded it. And me and Wally did the script for the whole thing. We scripted the whole show and everything. And Power Promotions helped us book on the acts. And we did actually 83 of them over 2 years.
Wow,
which was amazing, really. We did them at the Atlantic most of all. We did a few at Dino's. And then we did quite a few at in the city centre at Dickie Lewis's as well. And I'm really glad that I've managed. I wouldn't have got them up because I couldn't transfer them. So I said to Les, I'm going to film them off the television. And God bless her, the hands as steady as a rock. So we actually played the DVD onto the telly, and let's finish it. He does it off that.
Well, it was brilliant, and I've enjoyed watching every one of them. Great to see some of the acts of yesteryear, how good they were, and some of the artists that are still around today in their sort of embryonic stages. Yeah,
we were, the one of Cy Tucker went mad. The one we played for Cy Tucker went berserk. That was massive response to that one.
Yeah, well, understandably so, because the city lost a great entertainer and a lovely man during this difficult period. Always be remembered. Now, I wanted to ask you... Sorry, Bill, go on.
On Saturday, I've got a good one as well, because on Saturday, I'll be playing a clip of Kenny Rogers. Sorry, I'll be playing a clip of Kenny Johnson doing a Billy Fury song.
Wow, that would be good. Interesting. And I say I saw the show that's going to go over in the next couple of weeks for Clare House with young James Franklin on.
Oh, yeah.
Great, absolutely brilliant.
Did you see that one? He looked like a desert robber, didn't he?
Yeah, his hat on backwards.
Yeah, I've been getting lots of people getting in touch with me saying, I was on, will you see if you can find mine? You know, so I'm looking through all I've got to see if we can do it. And we've had quite a few. There's one lady wants to know if we've got a group on. I think they're called the Upsetters, because her late husband is lead singer.
Now,
she wants to see it for that.
So there's a lot of people enjoying watching them, Bill. Now I want to move on to...
Go on, sorry.
Go on. I want to move on to Hold Your Plums soon, because I think we're going to talk about that for a while. But one thing I wanted to ask you was, throughout your career, you've interviewed... I mean, we've had this conversation many times. The people you've interviewed are unbelievable over the years. Have you ever been starstruck?
I think I've mentioned this to you, because I get. Have you ever been nervous before an interview and starstruck? Once.
Go on.
I was interviewing the Lone Ranger.
Wow. And because you're a huge fan of cowboy movies, aren't you?
Well, but you know, most of a lot of the big names I interview are stars.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He was an idol.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
a total difference when you're interviewing somebody who you've idolized all your life.
Yeah.
You know.
Can you remember? Can you remember what you asked them?
It sounds tragic, really, doesn't
Uh,
it?
it's understandable in a way because you're professional, obviously. The other thing I was going to ask you was, have you ever sat down and interviewed someone and it's been a difficult interview?
Yeah, quite a few. Richard Todd was very, very difficult when I had him on, and one or two of the political people have been difficult at times. Joan Collins was difficult because she just couldn't wait to get back out. I think doing
Right.
the radio tour wasn't on her things to do. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
But most people, because they know they're on radio and they know people are listening, try and respond,
Yeah.
and try and make them. Nobody goes on radio or TV to deliberately make themselves look boring or anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was a country artist I interviewed called Vernon Oxford, who, because of the plays we gave him, ended up topping the bill at the Wookie Hollow. And all
Wow.
I could get out of him was, yup. I said to him once, you come from almost in the same area as Hank Williams, Vernon. Do you think listeners at the radio at that time was an influence on what you're going to be singing in the future? He said, maybe.
Great. You told me once as well, which I thought was an interesting point, was that interviewing, the secret to interviewing people as well as preparation, isn't it? So if you're interviewing, if you've got someone like that coming in, you've got to do your prep, haven't you? In case they do become one of those one-word answer guests.
Yeah. But do you know what I said? This doesn't apply to you and to a lot of people as well. I mean, I was in radio for 47 years. It started in 1971. And sometimes I look back at some of the people I interviewed before social media, right?
Right, yeah.
So now if I've got somebody on who I know nothing about, I can search them on Google and that. And if you're tuned in, you think I've known them for years,
Yeah.
but you do your research. And
Yeah.
I've often said to myself, where did I get the information years ago? When I had these stars coming on my show years ago, where did I get the information? Where did they go for it?
Yeah.
There's only libraries, I think, and old newspapers you could go to. Whereas now you can get so much information.
Yeah. You've also been responsible for playing records by artists that have made their career. You've played records. People like David Alexander, Joe Longthorne, you played records by certain acts that weren't played by other radio stations. You played them and you made those people, you excelled their career for them.
It's simple. It's the same thing as you do with your Sunday show. It's knowing your audience.
Right.
You know, and look at it, and knowing this. David, when I was at Radio City, David Alexander came in to see me. This was in the late 70s. And I'd been playing a record by an Irish singer called Sidney Devine, which was a cover of a Del Shannon B-side called The Answer to Everything.
Wow.
I was playing it by Sidney Devine, and it was going down a storm with the Radio City listeners. But David Alexander called in, and he said, Billy, do me a favour. He said, I've recorded The Answer to Everything, he said. Would you have a listen to see if you'll play it? I said, God, it's got to be good if it's beating Sidney Devine, David. So I went to the car, and he put on the cassette player in the car. And I said, yeah, I'll definitely play that. That's a great version. I mean, I'd already got a lot of attention for David with If I Could See the Rhonda One More Time.
Yeah.
You see, which I played to death because it's a song which makes you well up with emotion.
Yeah.
And our listeners love things like that. The radio listeners love emotion. Yeah. I've always said we laugh quicker and we cry quicker than any other people.
That's very true.
So the song by David Alexander, If I Could See the Rhonda with the sadness and the Welsh choir, they went down a storm. And David Alexander could not understand why he wasn't working in Liverpool, but he was getting all these bookings in Liverpool. It's because of the radio plays.
Still incredibly
popular. Same with Joe Longthorne. Joe Longthorne came in with his new album.
Yeah.
And his manager left, I think it was 40 copies with HMV because he was coming on my show, right? And he came on my show and the 40 albums went just like that. But when the manager went into HMV to order more, he said, we don't stock him. He said, well, you just sold all of his albums. Well, that was because he was on Billy's show.
Yeah.
You know, because as you know, I put a pile of CDs together called The Hits You Couldn't Get.
Yeah.
And they sold thousands and thousands, and they were just songs that I played that the record shops didn't stock.
Yeah. Incredible. I can remember many years ago when I was a little lad, you played a song called Nobody's Child.
Oh, yeah. See,
Which
that's
was
another one, you see. It's a tearjerker, isn't it?
it was a country song, and I remember my
Yeah,
dad went out and bought it. He actually bought it on a country compilation album about a little boy in an orphanage.
that's
And
right, yeah.
nobody, and I remember you playing that song, and it would be as like Pal of My Cradle days. They were on your show, and they became hugely popular numbers in Liverpool.
Well, look at the one that the idol you came to talk about on my show once, Jimmy Rosselli, and Pal
Rosselli,
of My
yeah,
Cradle days.
yeah,
You
huge.
know,
Great singer. Now, I want to move on to something which has become a bit of an institution, really. And you say the name Billy Butler, you immediately say, hold your plums. And it was a sensation. People still listen to it with fondness today. And I know, again, with social media, what you hope to do over the next few weeks is start downloading them and playing them for people to enjoy again. So I want to ask you first, how did the idea come along for Hold Your Plums?
well, when I left Radio City in 1982, I think it was, 82 or 83, after my first time there, I was doing a game called Heads and Tails of a Sunday. It's just a basic game, whereas they answer the question, and we had the sound effects of two coins going
Yeah,
up, and then they come down, the voice words, heads, tails. And if there were two heads or two tails, they won. If they were different, they didn't.
yeah,
That was the format of it. Dead simple, you know. So I went to Radio Mason and I took the game with me because I
yeah.
knew it was so popular. So I took this Radio Mason and started doing it for Sunday. And all of a sudden, Radio City, they said, you're going to take me to court for it. I said,
Right.
you can't take me to court. It's my idea.
Yeah,
So they said to Wally Scott, whose idea was it? And God bless him, because he didn't come over with me at the time. He
yeah,
said, that was Billy's, you know. So the boss said to me, listen, we don't want a court case. He said, if you want to stick with it, that's fine. But can you come up with another idea? So I thought to myself, I always think of the, you know, things everybody knows and does. That's why I did the tossing the coins.
yeah,
So I thought, if everybody else plays one-arm bandits,
yeah,
I'll base it on a one-arm bandit game. So if you pull the arm and you get 3 plums, 3
yeah,
cherries, you've won.
yeah,
You know, if you haven't, you know, you just haven't. We have a booby prize or something. And that was it.
yeah.
You know, and to get the voice of the robot originally, which says it's a plum, it's a plum. I tried to do it like that when it started off. It's a plum, and it wasn't working. So I got this is honestly God's truth.
Yeah,
I remember the staff seeing me in the studio. I had a 6-foot long piece of drain pipe,
yeah.
right? And I used to put that next to the mic and shout down the drain pipe, it's a plum. It's, you know, so it sound. And then one day, Metal Mickey was my guest.
Yeah.
And I said to him, listen, Metal Mickey, is there any possible chance you could record these for me? And he did. So the voice of Hold Your Plums just does them all. He's a Metal Mickey.
That's brilliant. And do you realise that piece of 6-foot pipe was worth a few bob? So it went on. It went on to do. I mean, so many, issues of Hold Your Plums, all recorded, thankfully, as well. Obviously with Wally as well. But I'm going to ask you, what sticks in your mind?
Before you go any further, Asa, what happened was I went to the boss. I said, right, I've got an idea for the show, and I explained it to him.
Yeah.
And he said to me, what do you want to call it? I said, Hold Your Plums.
Yeah.
So he went, really, lad? Because he's from Newcastle. I said, yes. He went, can't you call it something else? I said, no, it's Hold Your Plums. That's why I want to call it Hold Your Plums.
Yeah.
And he said to me, I'll never forget, I'll tell you what, wee laddie, we'll send it off to Radio Times in our programme schedule. And if they print it, we're on.
Brilliant.
And of course, they put it in, and so Hold Your Plums was there.
And it was born, and obviously Wally was a huge part of it as well, because that chemistry that you both had together was just magic. And add that to the people who called in, it was just fantastic. I wanted to ask you again, few memories, please, Bill, of some of the funniest callers you had.
Well, the great thing about Hold Your Plums, but without taking all the credit for myself, was that it was just a phone-in quiz show, basically. That's all it was, a phone-in quiz show. It was a question, because Wally did the questions, right?
Yeah.
But I never knew a question. before he gave it me on the show.
Yeah.
So I couldn't do any research on the questions and look for. I had to do the clues and everything off the top of my head because I didn't know what it was till he gave it me.
Yeah.
You see. And then it was a matter of me trying to give a clue to the contestants, which they wouldn't understand.
Yeah.
It was deliberately trying to confuse them if I could.
Yeah.
You know. And luckily, the people in this area are just fantastic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As I said, I've been listening to some of the cassettes because I've got hours and hours of it upstairs on cassettes.
Yeah.
And the story of how I got them's interesting as well. And I was listening to one the other day, and one of the this hasn't been on the air for years and years. One of the callers was in the bath. You see, so he's in the bath playing with his rubber duck.
Yeah.
You know. And all of a sudden we heard the water going, and I shout over the radio, "Don't stand up! Everybody's listening!"
Brilliant. I thought you were going to say he was holding his plums, Scott.
And we had another lady on who was in a chemist. She worked in a chemist.
Great.
And when he said, "Have you got a boyfriend?" She said, "No." He said, "Are you going out with anybody?" She said, "No." And then he said, "Haven't you got any mates?" She said, "Yeah, the chemist is full of them." And that was her off the top of her head. You know what I mean?
You can't write that.
Oh, no, you can't. The stuff. And people always say as well, you know, Asa, are those people real? They're 100% real.
Yeah, the magic. What about the couple from St. Helens, the mum and the son?
Was it somebody? It was Jeff and.
They were hysterical, Bill.
Oh, she was hysterical because she was logic.
Yeah.
We did the classic called Dial M for Murder, but I was trying to explain to her where she put her finger in the phone to get the letter M and stuff like that, and it was hilarious. It was hilarious.
What was the one, Bill, about the movie Mutiny on the Bounty?
Mutiny on the Bounty, yeah. I mean, you try them. I thought, I'll give this one a go. What was the name of the ship in Mutiny on the Bounty? And sometimes the most obvious questions, obvious answers don't come to you.
Yeah.
You know. And she said, "Can you give me an easier clue than that?" You know. As you said, they're all priceless. They really are. But the one they hated me doing on Radio Merseyside was the Arseholes one.
Go on, what was that one?
Well, I was walking down Paradise Street, and a guy called me over and he said, in fact, I know it was a fellow who used to be the chef at the Mardi Gras. And he said to me, "Billy," he said, "I've got something for old your plum as a prize." I said, "Okay, what is it?" He said, "Here are this." And he gives me the sole off a shoe.
Yeah.
You see. So I said, "What good is that as a prize?" And he said, "Well, turn it over and see who the makers are." So stamped into the sole. In fact, I should have brought it in. I've got it in the hall. Stamped on it was the R Shoe Company. I said, "Yeah." And he said, "That makes it an arsehole." I said, so of course that was the prize on the show.
Brilliant.
And of course it's one of the classics now. It's hilarious. But the poem that's after, which Terence wrote, is, I mean, and the great thing about it is we're doing the show live. You can hear the audience's reaction.
Which is great.
You know, and they're in hysterics.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just one of the many, but they hated me playing that on Merseyside.
Yeah,
with it being the Arseholes one.
Yeah, I bet they did.
It was logic. It's the R-Shoe Company. We used to express that, and it's an arsehole.
Yeah. Well,
a left arsehole. No, it's a right arsehole. We've got a left arsehole. No, you mean we've got two right arseholes? I said, I'm sorry about that.
Absolutely brilliant. And then, of course, after Hold Your Plums, you and Wally also went on to do a lot of live shows together, Bill. You put together huge shows at the Empire and places like that. Yeah,
but there again, I said it's the same thing again. It's understanding your audience.
Yeah, knowing your audience.
What they want. The way I used to do the Empire and the Philharmonic shows is, if we could get a couple of big names, great. If it couldn't, just pack it with talent.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
I've got a program here somewhere. Here's one we did. Here's one we did at the. Here's one we did at the Flora Pavilion. Sorry, at the Southport Theatre. Yeah. And we've got. It's called Mersey Beats Rock and Roll.
Brilliant.
And we've got the Searchers and the Swinging Blue Jeans. We've got Charlie Gracie, Johnny Preston, Jack Scott, Frankie Ford, and all of them are on the one bill. Sold out straight away.
Incredible.
You know, and that's what we used to try and do.
Yeah.
And there's another one here which we called First Timers, and we put people on because, as you know yourself, Asa, the biggest thing you want to do when you're in entertainment in Liverpool is the empire.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
So we did this show called First Timers. And we put all the people on who we knew wanted to go on, like people like Denny Waters. His daughter was on as well, Louise, Bobby Kay.
Yeah.
Charlie Lansbury, his first ever appearance and all that. And it's people who never done the empire but wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And we gave them that wish, you know.
And the thing is with that, they'll never forget that because career-wise, once you've done the empire, it's something you look back on. So I think it's a great idea. It's something that would work again. That in the future, Bill. That's a show for people to see new talent. I mean, you've always done that again. You've always done that.
Eddie Flanagan. You remember Eddie Flanagan?
Yeah, yeah.
Incredible comic. If somebody, if you play him on the radio, you have to edit it because he had huge gaps between his you know, he'd tell a joke, but he had huge gaps between each line.
Yeah.
And I introduced Eddie, and you know, you've been in the Empire yourself. It's a big stage.
Huge.
You know, and Eddie came out of the wings and made his way very slowly to the microphone. When he got to the microphone, he said, "Some walk there." I went down the bar opening line, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean about his delivery, because a lot of it was in the facial expression and the way he held himself. I've watched videos of Eddie where he literally just stares at the audience, and they're in absolute hysterics.
It's funny, you know. You know, you don't. Sometimes I do say to myself, "Hold Your Promise" wasn't all it did. You know, I did a morning program for 30 odd years and an afternoon program for 20 odd years. Yeah. We interviewed everybody in sight and everything. You know, but, I mean, I used to say to Les, I mean, times have changed. I said, what's going on? I used to say to Les, I know what's going to happen. I said, when my coffin goes in, there'd be a lovely sentimental song all about you. And when it comes out, they're going to be playing the Hold Your Plums theme. Everybody's applauding for the Hold Your Plums theme, you know.
Well, it's funny, really, you should say that, because when I was looking through one or two questions, because we'll do this again, because you can't condense a career into just an hour chat, but this is the first one I've done of this, the conversation, and you're the first person to very kindly give your time. It's very difficult to condense it, and I know what you've done in your career. We all know in Liverpool that the radio has been a huge part of your life, the live shows, the things you've done at the Cavern, the people you've met over the years. But it's also nice in a way, Bill, to think that you created something that will always stay in the memory of people for a long, long time. Hold Your Plums. It's like, you know, some of the great radio comedies that have been created. That will fall into that category. So you've done an enormous amount, but you've also created something which will never be forgotten.
That's nice of you to say, isn't it?
It was a lot of fun.
Well worth the money.
Now, what I wanted to ask you.
We've all tried to be inventive, mate, while you're on radio. You know, we were the first ones to do. We adapted. We adapted the Snow interlude for the radio. We used to do that on the radio as well.
Yeah.
You know, and we did a thing called Take Your Chick.
Right.
But Take Your Pick was big at the time, and
yeah.
people played for a wing, then they played for a breast, then they played for a full chicken. We even had a phone in once where people rang in with as many clothes on as possible, but every time you got a question wrong, you had to take something off.
Great.
You know, and stuff like that. We used to try and come up with something that would get the interest people. And the comedy captains we used to do were hysterical. And in this area, we could do it with so much ease. Like, we'd say to somebody, I'll give you an example, and how clever the audience are. I said, we were talking to me and Wally about when you're at school sending stick notes in. Yeah. You know, because in those days, if you stayed off school, you had to send a sick note in. Yeah. Or you'd be in trouble with the headmaster. And we talked about that, and I said, everybody used to be off in those days with a bilious attack. Nobody has a bilious attack anymore. When did they cure biliousness, or whatever it is? Because they did. And then we decided, I said to Ollie, I wonder what kind of sick notes famous people sent in. Yeah. You know, when he was off school, when they were off school. And the listeners came in with gems. Like one listener phoned up and said, Mrs. Invisible Man said, I didn't know he was off. But the cleverest one, if I can remember it, was now I've forgotten it now. I remember it before the end, probably.
It will come back to you.
As I say, it was a matter of trying to. I started doing a thing called Whatever Happened To in 1978 on Radio City.
I love that.
And that was because I'd collected records by people who only sang because they were famous.
Yeah.
Weird thing to collect, but I was into that. And because of that, I came up with this idea, Whatever Happened To.
Yeah.
So I'd play a famous person singing who wasn't a singer, and people would have to ring in and guess who it was.
Yeah.
Now, everybody does it now because you can get all these people on YouTube.
Of course.
Whereas I was the only one who had those records at the time because I collected them for years.
Yeah.
So everybody does it now because it's easy to access.
Yeah, of course. Now, what we'll do is we'll wind it up in a minute now. We're going to do this all again. And also, this will be loaded up onto YouTube and social media because you're going to be doing some stuff live on Facebook as well, which will enable the watchers and the listeners to interact with you. Now, obviously, this is the future now for social media. So I wanted to ask you, Bill, you've had an amazing career. You've still got so much ahead of you. What do you sort of see yourself doing future-wise now? How do you see this going with social media? Something you'd like to be involved in?
Hang on a second. Just let me... Have we got a dictionary there, Les? We have a look at the word future. Let's see what future means. I don't think that far ahead, Asa.
Is that the key to it, or you sort of think? Because I look at you now doing this, and you're as natural sitting on social media as you sat doing the radio, and I think personally it's something people would love to see you on a regular basis.
Well, I've just actually sent an email to the boss at Radio Merseyside,
right?
And I'm complimenting him on the way that station's performing during this time because they really are catering to the people.
Yeah,
you know, the slogan on Radio Merseyside, "Here when you needed us most," is brilliant.
It is,
it's a great slogan, and the catering to today's... I've tuned out some of the other stations, and they're mainly music. They're basically keeping people in touch without frightening them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I put on the congratulations, and then they ended it with, but you still need some plumbers of a Sunday to bring some humour on.
Hey, listen, I 100% agree with you, and I think everybody watching this has said the same thing, Bill. You are missed on radio. When I put on earlier on in the week that we were going to do this, and you were also going to do the Facebook Live stuff with the aid of Leslie, the amount of people were on saying they're really looking forward to hearing you again and seeing you again, as long as you wear one of your jackets. Go on, what have we got now?
Billy Wally comic book, bestseller.
Wow. Now, I didn't. Well, I tell you what, there's a first. I didn't know you'd done that.
Oh yeah, Billy Wally coming. There's me and Wally. Can you see it?
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah, we can see it. Brilliant. Who drew that?
I've got two local artists doing it, and of course this one from my wife.
Oh, that's great. Very good, like that.
That was called Letters from Leslie, and Leslie actually used to write whenever I did anything wrong at home.
Yeah.
Leslie used to write to Wally.
Right.
I could never get away with anything.
Yeah.
And I never knew, except when he had those dreaded words. Hang on a minute, Bill. I've just got this letter off Leslie, and it was about my attempts at DIY.
Well,
so she eventually wrote a book about it. It sold out.
Well, what's funny is Leslie puts stuff on social media about what you've been up to, and it's absolutely hilarious. She'll just put, he's done this, he's done that, he's driving me around the bend. But sort of conclude now, we're all in this situation together in the lockdown.
You haven't talked about me football or me television programmes or anything like that.
I've heard about your football.
Well, charity football team for 20 years, you know.
Were you a decent player?
I'd say I was. Well, I played for Rankin I had a trial for the LBA.
Yeah.
You know, I enjoyed it as well. You know, scored at Anfield, put 7 penalties past Grobbler.
I've seen the video of that. Okay, well, we've got a bit longer then. Why not? How did the football thing come about then?
Well, I've always played football.
Yeah.
The best things I ever did was when my granddad said to me when I was 14, I think it was, and he said to me, join a youth club.
Yeah.
I said, well, we lived in West Derby Road by the Locarno, and the nearest was the Rankin Boys Club in Kent, just by Bowler Street, and I joined there. Yeah. We used to go there and play snooker 3 times a week, and then I got in the football team, and you had to go running around Eugene Park twice a week. You weren't even considered.
Yeah.
So I played with the football team, And the first time I played for the C team, and I'm sitting in the room where he's reading the teams out, and he read the C team out, and I wasn't included. And I thought I played well last week. Then I read the B time out, and I wasn't included. I thought, I'm leaving. Then I read the A team out, and I was in the A team.
Brilliant.
We were unbeaten at the time after 6 games. And then we played the Florence Institute, probably one of the hardest teams in the league. And I scored the winner.
Wow.
And the boss, Mr. Jones, used to do a report every Monday and have it printed. And also the headlines were, "Where have you been all the day, Billy boy?"
Brilliant. That's great, isn't it?
Let me tell you a funny thing as well, Asa. We used to, when I ran the Billy Butler Charity 11, which we done, and then it became the City 11 or the Merseyside 11, we started videoing it, right?
Yeah.
When the video cameras started videoing it, and the week after we go back and watch it on the telly. Now, in one of the reports Mr. Jones did, he described me as the Charlie Chaplin of the ranking football team. So I thought to myself, he must mean because I'm dead funny and because I entertain in the dressing room.
Yeah.
And then I saw myself on telly and I run like Charlie Chaplin. I can never forget the realisation watching myself on video. And I realise now why they put it, because I run like Charlie Chaplin, dead little steps.
Brilliant. Hey, well, we've got something in common there then, because a couple of years ago, you and Leslie put me forward to be in a musical, Brian McCann, Down Our Street, which we did together, and I played Charlie Chaplin. Do you remember? And we had fun doing that, didn't we? That was great fun. Go on, bring it over a little bit. Wow. Tell you, Billy, that's some head of hair, that. And the sideys as well. Brilliant.
That was only released last week. He's been in jail for 47 years.
Brilliant. Well, Bill, we're going to wind it up, and we're going to do it again next week, and we're going to carry on from a subject. You're going to go on to do Facebook Live as well with Leslie.
You can talk about the television programmes, can't you, and stuff like that. And,
yeah.
Jennifer Rush's Golden Disc. And
well, that's what I say. You can
Ringo Starr.
To condense that period down is very difficult, but I thought we'd give this a go.
I'm playing the part of the pilot on the Buddy Holly story.
Hey, and also you're dancing in the Buddy Holly show, which went down storm. All right.
One of the people put on Facebook the other day, and it's something and I'm sure you'll appreciate this, it's something I've always known. Well, a fellow wrote to me and said he was driving to work one day, and the groupies with their record come on. Yeah. And he said, "You'll never know the feeling you get." He said, "Well, you're driving, you don't know, and your record comes on the radio." Well, and I've never forgotten that, I said, what it must mean to people when they actually hear their record on the radio.
It does. I reiterate that. You've done that for me. You've done it for so many artists in Liverpool. Stars in Your Ears was the thing.
Just come in.
That's how you know it's a live podcast. They're going in and out. Yeah, you did it for so many people over the years, and I speak for all of them. We thank you very much for what you've done. You're very, very well loved in Liverpool, Bill.
I'm very lucky, Asa. I'm very lucky. I can't think of anything else I can do.
Well, I don't know. There's luck, and there's also being good at what you do and treating people well. So we appreciate all you've done, Bill, and we'll see you on Facebook Live next week with Leslie. And thanks very much for your time. I've enjoyed chatting to you.
She'll destroy me.
That's what I'm looking forward to. Now you can get back to your Elvis juice.
I'm 78 now. People might not believe that. They probably thought I was 80 odd. But you have to get used to being old, because with me having my leg done, I had total knee replacements. So I have difficulty putting my trousers on and off. So now I'm standing in the bathroom of a morning, and Les comes in and pulls me trousers down and pulls me underpants down, and it doesn't affect that. I'm used to,
Do you know what I thought then? I thought you were going to stand up and you were sat there in your underpants doing this interview. I was going to use swine. Brilliant. Great.
Why didn't I think of that?
Yeah, I thought he's going to stand up now and he's in his boxies. Or he's going to have a pair of underpants on with "Hold Your Plums" written on it.
But we did actually. We had a guy from the market in the 80s who got in touch with me, and he said, "Billy, can I put out Hold Your Plums underpants?"
Brilliant.
And I said, "Send me a pair in." So he sent me a pair in, and bring just Hold Your Plums across the front, you know.
Yeah.
And I said, "Yeah." So I went to see the boss, and no, we can't have that. That's bad for the BBC. That.
Well, I suppose, yeah.
And he said, "Well, I've got 2,000 done." I said, "That's all right." He sold them all over the weekend.
Brilliant. We can do that. We can do that now. All right, Bill. Well, thanks very much, mate.
The maid's come back in.
Mate, Kelly's come back in, yeah. Thank you very much, mate, for your time, and it's been lovely chatting to you, and we'll catch up with you very soon. But on behalf...
Can't believe it worked.
It worked for our first one, yeah, but on behalf of all your fans and everyone who loves you, Bill, thanks very much for your time, pal.
Thank you, Asa.
Take care, and see
you
you...
in the post. Yeah.
See you soon, mate. Bye-bye.
How'd you switch it off?
It's done.